Mr. Pan, over the last 20 years of working with international companies, you must have seen many that have succeeded, and certainly many have failed. Why do you think the end result is so different from these companies? And from your observations, why the Chinese are so capable of competing?
Well, first of all, over the last 20 years, I clearly have seen many companies come and many companies go. And I don't think that there's any real secret formula for success in China, except some very basic fundamentals. And that is, when you come to China, you must understand the local market. And then secondly, you must be able to control your costs. These are the basic fundamentals, whether you're in China or you're in Europe, United States, or anywhere else. Keep in mind that understanding the market means you must conduct research. Oftentimes, people forget to ask the question, what do the consumers want? And do not take for granted that your formula of success over in Europe or in the United States is going to be successful in China. Because Chinese people with Chinese taste, different culture, different way of buying things, different price points are different. And so your first point is to understand what the consumers want. And then the second point related to that is to understand what the regulatory constraints are. Oftentimes, one would believe that, well, we're in a free market, we can do this and market and promote. Well, there are certain regulated industries, for example, television, that certain things are not allowed to be shown. And so the traditional idea of marketing may be very different. And so understanding what the market is looking for, understand your legal and regulatory constraints are key to finding a success entry point into China.
Yeah, I understand. What about the second principle?
The second principle, as I mentioned, is controlling your cost. There's no question that in China, certain things can be very, very expensive and certain things can be very inexpensive. And so I think the key to it is to understand what your price points are for doing certain business. China is a big country. You can utilize a marketing budget of 100,000 or you can have a budget of 10 million. And so somewhere in between those two, you need to fully understand how to manage and control your costs and to do so effectively. For example, we've always had this comment, you must go big or you go home. And China being such a huge country, oftentimes people underestimate what it takes in order to convey a message to the consumers. And so along those lines, you must also understand what you can do in order to save some costs, because the old saying goes, a penny saved is a penny earned. And so with that, I clearly believe that if you're going to be successful in China, you must localize your operation, you must probably have local people that truly run the operations, because they know what the Chinese habits are and they know how to save costs. Because ultimately, if you cannot control your cost of goods sold, your COGS, you cannot be successful in China.
Thank you.
You're welcome.